Hi guys! So in this video, I want to share my story. So this will probably be one of the longer videos, but I will try to make it shorter. So if you don't know me or much about me, my name is Carrie. I am the mom, a single mom of 4 kids. I've got 3 boys, and then my youngest is a girl, oldest is a teenager. Oh my gosh. And I live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I grew up in Branson, Missouri, though. But I've lived here in Tulsa since 2006, so a long time. So basically, in 2012, or up until 2012, I was basically healthy. I have always struggled since I was a kid with self-esteem and confidence. As a kid, I actually struggled a lot with what I will call disordered eating. I can't really say that I was anorexic or bulimic. You know, I was never diagnosed that way. But I definitely struggled with major food issues. I was also very suicidal as a teen. I struggled a lot. Eventually I was honestly just set free from depression and the suicide, thoughts. I was about 16 when that happened. And from then until about 2012, I was good. I still struggled with, just being insecure and with confidence. But as far as physically, I was pretty healthy for the most part. I had started working out in 2009, actually, and I had lost some weight. I was doing great. In 2012, by that point, I had the 3 boys. And at the end of 2011, I started noticing some symptoms like extreme fatigue. My hair was falling out. I couldn't lose weight anymore. Like, no matter how hard I tried, I had lost about 20 pounds up until that point. But I couldn't, no matter what I did, I couldn't lose anymore. And I was just getting tireder and tireder. I eventually got to the point where, I couldn't take care of my family. I did my workout because it was something that I did mainly for my mindset. It was the one thing I did for me. But I would do that workout and then I was done for. Like, the rest of the day was in bed. I couldn't really clean. I couldn't really do a lot. My poor husband at the time had to really step up. So at some point in 2012, I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism and started on medication. If you know anything about being hypothyroid or hormone issues, you know that it is a process. It wasn't until 2014, I think it was, that I finally had found a doctor that was good for me. Someone had given me some Shakeology that summer, I believe it was. And at that point, I was not doing well. Like I said, even 2 years into my diagnosis, my numbers were good, but symptom-wise, I just was not doing well. I could not lose weight. I was extremely fatigued. My hair was still falling out and thinning like crazy. Skin problems, digestive problems, all the things. And I had gotten to the point where I couldn't eat breakfast anymore. There was no foods that I found that I could stomach anymore. And until that point, I was the biggest skeptic on the planet. And to be honest, I still am about most things. I'm one of those people that I do my research on everything, like everything. It is very hard. I can smell a salesperson from a mile away. And people were always drinking these shakes, and there were a million companies out there that had these. And I was had finally got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm having a hard time finding things to eat. I'm feel like crap, I had started following my coach, Brittany Powers, on Instagram. And I was just kind of watching different people, and I decided to really do my research on shakes. And I reached out to actually several different friends and family that sold different shakes. And I researched every single one of them. And the only one that made the cut for me was Shakeology. It was the only one that didn't have crap in it. It was the only one that didn't have soy and all of the things that I couldn't have. So I decided to give it a shot. Someone had given me some, and I tried it, I think in the summer of 2014. A couple of times. It was it was not chocolate, and I'm chocolate, so I was like, whatever. I didn't really give it a shot. But I kept watching my coach. I kept watching these other coaches. I knew ingredient wise that was what I needed. So it was January of 2015. We actually used part of my tax return. It was like $200 at the time. It's a lot cheaper now to get signed up, actually. But back then it was about $200, and that was a lot of money. And at that point, I had watched my coach for long enough that I knew I wanted to help people, and that if I was gonna do this thing, I was gonna do it. I already knew, I loved health and fitness. I had seen the programs already. I had tried several of them, borrowed DVDs from people. So I knew going in that I wanted to be a coach. So I signed up as a coach as I bought my first challenge pack, my first Shakeology and fitness program. That was January 29th of 2015. I went in, and within 2 weeks of starting Shakeology, the fatigue was completely gone. Boom, like that. It was crazy. I had energy all of a sudden, my cravings were gone. I felt amazing. And then also at the time, I was on hormone replacement therapy, and within, I think, 3 months, I was off of it. Now, Beachbody, of course, cannot guarantee those type of results, but that was my story. My body just needed the nutrition that's in Shakeology. So I became a coach in 2015. 2015 was overall a very good year. I, did so much better. I was losing weight finally. I was feeling good. At the end of 2015, though, is where my life kind of just blew up, to say the least. So in October of 2015, I found out I was pregnant with my 4th kid, my baby girl, and I panicked, completely panicked. My 2 pregnancies prior to that were not good. I have a condition where when I'm pregnant, my body releases too much of the hormone relaxin. Relaxin is meant to, when you're pregnant, to soften your joints so that you're more flexible and can make room for baby. My body releases too much, so it actually would cause my bones in my pelvis to shift too much and relax too much. They would rub together, they would shift, it was extremely, extremely painful, and it gets worse, unfortunately, every kid that you have. And so going into the 3rd time of that, my 4th kid, but 3rd time dealing with it, I was scared, to say the least. I knew that, God had spoken to me and told me that, this baby was a gift from him. So I immediately knew that it was a girl. I knew since I was a teenager, God was going to give me a little girl. So I was happy, but I was scared. And I had just done all this work to lose this weight and to get in shape. And I was finally really, really happy. Sorry, there was a bug. So at the same time, my husband's business, he's also an entrepreneur. It blew up, like in a good way. Suddenly, like everything changed. We were traveling all the time. He was traveling all the time. And our marriage kind of just collapsed. We had Amaya in 2016, in May of 2016. And from the outside, everything looked amazing. You would not know by looking at us that anything was going on, but things were not great. Financially, we were in the best situation we'd ever been in, but my health after having Amaya took a massive, massive downturn. Long story short, it wasn't until in December 3rd of 2016, basically everything came to a head for me. I had already been struggling with depression, and I had basically a mental and emotional breakdown. I actually have another video explaining that whole story and what happened and whatnot. If you want to find that, you can find it in my link tree. It's my postpartum breakdown story. So I had that breakdown, and at that point, my husband decided that he was done, and he didn't move out until about 4 months later. But it was basically over at that point. I, ended up in therapy. I started therapy about a month or two later, got on meds, went to a doctor that I still see now. I've been with her now for 2 years, a little over 2 years, I think. And she's amazing. She's a functional medicine doctor. But I got on meds, found out basically my body kind of went nutso, like major, major nutso. My hormones, my thyroid, everything just took a major hit. But it was about 4 months later that my husband ended up moving out. Health-wise, like I still, and even now, like I still really, really struggle to lose weight. In the beginning of 2017 is when he moved out, April 2017. At that point, I had lost actually about 20 pounds. But then the stress of the divorce just brought all of my health issues right back to the surface. Stress does a massive, massive number. And to be honest, I had pretty much stopped coaching when I got pregnant with Amaya, which again, in my postpartum video, I explain why and what happened with coaching during that time. But I basically quit because I was so depressed. I was still kind of sharing on social media, but not really building a business at that point because I was just not in a place mentally or emotionally where I could. But in April of 2017, when he moved out, I realized it was like the light switch went on, and I realized once again God had spoke to me and told me to come back to coaching. And I realized like this is what God had brought me to. This is what God had for me, and that I was going to use my story and everything that I've been through to help other people. I never wanted to go through anything that I've been through in vain. When the divorce process started, I had determined that I was going to use it to give God glory and to reach people, and that it was not going to be in vain. So I dug my heels in. I said, God, I'm going to do what you've called me to do. No matter what he says or what anyone else says, like I knew this was what God had for me. So I began my coaching journey again in April of 2017, and I've been coaching ever since. There was a short time, a few months, where I had to get off of social media because of the divorce. And as far as health goes, it was basically, long story short, my digestive system, my hormones, everything was just whacked. I ended up gaining back all of the weight that I had lost through the divorce process, all of that stress. Because of the digestive issues that I had, my body was not absorbing nutrients. And so for the last basically almost 2 years, I have been working with my doctor to heal my body, basically. So my body wasn't absorbing nutrients. I had a ton of blood work done. My hormones, like we've been trying to balance everything actually for a couple of years now. A few months ago, I got very, very, very sick. Like sick enough that it scared me. And at that point, I was like, okay, enough is enough. How do I really dug in my heels on how to heal my gut, heal my body, figure out like really, really, really seek God on how to heal myself. And I ended up cutting out gluten, pretty much cut out dairy, cut out coffee, which is my favorite, cut out sweets, cut out all the things. I basically survived on frozen veggies and potatoes for a couple of months. And so I gained every pound that I had lost. I gained it all back, plus about 5 pounds. So I am, doing much better now. I just had my blood work done, and I'm praying, I'm feeling much better. And I get those results back next month. And I'm believing for complete restoration this year in my health. Yeah, so in a nutshell, in a 16, 17 minute nutshell, that's kind of my health journey, coaching journey story. Like I said, I think in one of my other videos, I want to pay this forward. I never want another woman out there to go through anything that I've been through without a support system. I learned through my divorce and through my health struggles that we were not meant to do this life alone. And so if there's anything that I can do to help another human being to not go through these kinds of things, these struggles, life struggles alone, then that's what I want to do. And my prayer is that even though I'm running a business, that through that loving people first is my goal. Pointing them to Jesus is my goal. I hope that when someone looks at my life, that they see the goodness of God. They see what God can do and the restoration that he can do in someone's life. And that if he can do it for me, he can do it for you. So that is kind of why I'm coaching. I'm now a divorced mom of 4 kids. And so, I have my kids and myself that I need to provide for. And so my kids are my why right now. I want to build a life for them and for me. And I don't want to have to go to work in the corporate world and support someone else, work for a big company and, be stuck doing that for the rest of my life when I can do this, what I love, what I know God has called me to do, and I can personally touch someone's life. I can personally help someone else change and restore their lives. So that is kind of my story and why I'm coaching, and I just love people. So that's it. If you have questions or anything, just reach out. I'm an open book. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have about my story, about what I do, about this process, anything at all, just ask.